Hello, everyone. My name is Colleen Theisen, and I'm the Outreach and Instruction Librarian for Special Collections at the University Archives. We're located on the third floor of the main library. We're part of the library system here on campus. And my talk is entitled Animating the Book and Animating Library Outreach. I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you for just a few minutes about what we've been doing. We've had a really big year in outreach in the past year. We created social media sites across platforms, and some of them have been doing exceptionally well, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the reasons why that is. Some things having to do with Tumblr, one of the sites that we've been using, and some things having to do with the book itself and what people seem to be interested in online and in book-loving communities. Start. In just a moment. Well, there always has to be technical difficulties. I'll just start at the beginning. So 2 years ago, I was hired here at Special Collections in the University Archives. And I thought about starting an outreach campaign. I identified 3 problems that I felt were problems with being able to talk about a book online and talk to communities that are interested in special collections and in books and in libraries online. And the problems that I thought about were 3 words: obsolescence, obscurity, and anxiety. Obsolescence, to start with. I'm sure that you've read some of the articles that hit us on a daily basis about the end of libraries, the end of the physical book, that the future of the library will have no physical books, that MOOCs will replace our educational institutions, and on and on and on. There's all sorts of stories about obsolescence. So that's one target, one problem that I thought about in making social media outreach. The second one I thought about was obscurity. When I was an undergraduate, as many are at this institution, as a senior, I was sent as part of my history minor to this place called the Archives that I've never heard of. And I think that that's still a resounding problem across the board, is that special collections and archives do have a measure of obscurity to them, that some people just don't know that they exist at all, or if they do, don't know anything about what they do. So that's one of my targets in the outreach, is trying to address that issue of obscurity. And the third one is anxiety. Following up with knowing that special collections or archives or unique collections in libraries exist, there's a long tradition of some of those types of institutions having very limited access for very good reasons of security and safety. But sometimes you needed to know somebody who knows somebody to be allowed access. And a lot of those concepts, those ideas, still linger with thoughts about special collections and archives. That even if people know that they exist, the thought of using them, sometimes there's the thought that I'm not allowed, or that it's not for me, that that's for someone more important than me. So for reaching out very broadly to a very wide audience online, those were some of the thoughts that I had in mind as I started our campaign. Let me see if I can get some of our pictures to work. And if not, then we'll just go on without. Well, that worked. So I mentioned our success in the last year, and so I wanted to start just with this image of some of the places where some of our campaigns have gone in the last year. We have been reported about all over the internet. We've had some really good viral successes with 4-edge paintings and micro miniature books, but that's not really the focus of today's talk. And to step back just one moment, if anyone has any questions at any point, I enjoy being interrupted. So if I miss something or don't explain it, just please let me know, and I'd be happy to clarify. Okay. 4 minutes and a half already. Time flies. I'm not getting the pictures to work, so I'm just going to keep talking. I will show you these pretty pictures. So what have we been doing? What have we been doing that's been working? I say animating the book and animating library outreach. So what we've been doing is that we started a Tumblr. Facebook in recent times, when I started, we started a Facebook and we started a blog like a lot of collections have. But Facebook in particular has started limiting how many people can see our posts. Even if you have liked a page, they only are now showing your posts to about 5% of the people who have opted in to see content from your page. So putting anything on Facebook for anyone who's not a person is very ineffective unless you pay. And even in the past 2 months, they've slashed that more dramatically. So even though it's a place where there's a high concentration of people, of everyone online, it's not really working for outreach. And there's a lot of attractive things about Tumblr that led us to go there. So this is part of the things that we've been doing on Tumblr, but let me show you our page. There's the 4-H paintings I mentioned. Tumblr, I really want to get this photo to come up. It's not playing in order, but why did we choose Tumblr? Special Collections has a really large collection of science fiction collections. And one of the things that science fiction has really invested in since the 1930s is the idea of fandom. The idea of getting together because you really, really like something. But not just to talk about it, not just to share it, but to make things. To make things in response to liking something. And there's an element of this that we're drawing on. Tumblr itself is is formed around fandoms. The difference between Tumblr and Facebook is that on Facebook, people follow people they know. You're following people by proximity. But on Tumblr, you follow people that you don't know by fandom. You follow tags. Everything on Tumblr is tagged to certain subjects, to certain communities, to certain fandoms. And so you follow people based on similar interests, not on knowing them in real life. And so as a library or as a book community on Tumblr, what we're tapping into is a large community of book-loving people. And communicating about the book with people who love the book, or love things in special collections, or love things in libraries. There's a large community of librarians on Tumblr as well that follow the hashtag Tumblarians. And there's other institutions and other special collections related content creators that we're in a community with as well, especially Eric Quackle, who's a medieval book historian in Leiden, the Houghton Library at Harvard, the Smithsonian Institution libraries, and we communicate in a community of like-minded collections. And the main thing that, going back to that idea of science fiction fandom, the main thing that's working is that we're creating new digital creations featuring collection items in a community of equal fans, in a community of creators. And the main way that that displays itself is by making these animations of books, of taking something in the collection and educating about what the collection has, but through making something new that's just fun and silly and creative and takes a look at the collection items in a new way. So that's the aspect of from science fiction fandom, that you're not actually a fan. You're not a fan of the book unless you make something new interpreting the book. So we tend to stick with items that are pre-1922 for some obvious copyright reasons. But as a special collections, there's also great opportunity since the bulk of our collections are pre-1922. And we're just tapping into an energy there. So our overall goals with our site are to demonstrate that we exist and that we're available for anyone to use, to educate about what we have in our collections, and the variety of items, not just books, railroad collections, science fiction collections. Yes?
Colleen, I was just going to ask, and we may get to this in a little bit, are you finding that people are coming in to see the real thing? Are they citing any of the online experiences? Is it bringing them in?
Yes. Some results that we've seen from participating in this community online I had a group, a whole family drive over from Illinois to see the 4-H paintings after the books went out everywhere. I've had people come up within an hour after I posted about one of our early editions of Alice in Wonderland because they're a fan and they immediately came up to see it. This book, The Enchiridion, that's featured in the cartoon Adventure Time, when I put this board up downstairs, I immediately had undergraduates come up to see a real Enchiridion. It's also, we've had increased donations that have come in after big campaigns. I know DIY History, after we had some big articles about DIY history, we got many more donations of Civil War diaries. We've had donations of miniature books come in since we've been featuring miniature books on Miniature Mondays. Miniature Mondays has really sort of marked us as a place that collects miniature books, and so there have been at least 3 people that have donated miniature books since I started this last year. So I would definitely say that it increases traffic into the door. And the other main way that I've seen increased attention is that I've had a lot of students who are considering library school contact me about the University of Iowa program. They're really excited about special collections and about the outreach that we've been doing, and that leads to them asking questions about coming here. So that's another area where I've seen real increased attention. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Goals. Know about the extreme variety. So I talked about knowing that we exist, knowing what we have, knowing about the extreme variety of types of materials in our collection, and educating about that. I also have a goal of demonstrating what we do as librarians and the diversity of things that we do, and that ends up in and out of different posts about what we're doing on a daily basis. When conservation treats an item, we'll put up a post, we'll forward their post or we'll put up something about it. When we received a box of swords, we put up a post about opening the boxes. So bit by bit, we're getting out a message about the types of things that we do on a daily basis as librarians. And then the 4th goal is to participate in a community as equals. And I think that it's that creation that is the main thing that breaks down the anxiety. If I'm a fan of the book as well and creating these interesting things about books, that breaks down that unequal relationship, that kind of fear of libraries and librarians. It's approachable. And I've seen, it's only anecdotal, but I've seen a real difference in the way that undergraduates in particular interact with our collections from this type of outreach. I think that I may have to stop there. I have a few more minutes, but I do want to be respectful of time. Are there any other questions? This all flew by so fast. I know that I've only covered a brief overview.
Are you able to spend a lot of time on developing these kinds of outreach efforts? I mean, I'm guessing just because it's been so successful that people are supportive of that. Has that been the case for you? I know I'm sure you have other duties, but this seems to be important.
Yeah, we've had a really great relationship with departments all over the library to support our work. The part I didn't talk about is what we've been doing with YouTube video, but we have a supportive relationship with our multimedia consultant who's been helping us with some of the filming and editing for those videos. For our Tumblrs, we've actually expanded to 4 Tumblrs now. This is our main site, and then we have the Iowa Women's Archives. The Hevelin Science Fiction Collection has its own site, and now the MAP collection has launched its own site as well. And that's only possible because of support from departments all over the library. We're sort of related and not related to the Iowa Women's Archives. And then the Iowa Women's Archives page is actually being done by Ariana and by Jen Wolf, who's in another department. So it's really branched out to incorporate a lot of players from all over the library who are contributing ideas and posts and photographs because special collections is sort of a library within a library. So it's outreach on behalf of us, but that ends up being outreach on behalf of the library system and the university as a whole. So it starts to incorporate a lot of players. And it's only because that infrastructure has grown as we've grown that we've been able to continue at the level that we have. It takes a lot of people. Well, there's lots of deep thoughts we could have about perhaps the fetishization of the book, the book as object. One of the most popular tags that our posts get tagged on Tumblr is book porn. So that gives you a sense of how people interact with these types of images from the collections. They love the physicality of it. They love that it's unexpected, that it's things about the book that they didn't know, or just things that are beautiful. Just things that are absolutely beautiful is what they're interested in. And so how does that help the cause of the physical book? There's limitations to it. That is a very specific type of issue about the book that it's communicating. I do think that it's helpful, though, in the end, for communicating about specifically the obsolescence piece. Because there's a lot of things about one particular book that when people make a sweeping generalization about how all libraries will end as digital and we'll get rid of all of the physical books, the exception can be useful. Say, well, but what about the paper? But what about this unique binding on this one copy? But what about the things that we learn about provenance, about history, about the way that this book is intertwined in a society, in a particular moment, in a particular time in history, that you can only learn from this one particular physical copy? That's a limited argument, but it is an exception, and it's an exception that counters that sweeping generalization, and I think in a really helpful way, and in a way that's fun. At the core of it, we're just trying to have fun with books. And that ends up communicating as well. Well, we have reached 1 o'clock, so I'm happy to leave off to our break time to continue back to the coffee and sweets that remain. And I will continue to be here this afternoon if anyone has any questions. If you'd like to dig, instead of in the high upper level overview, but into the nitty-gritty of social media outreach, I can go on and on and on, and I would be happy to. If you want to hash out social media plans, just talk to me, and it's one of my favorite things to talk about, so I'd love to connect about it. Otherwise, thank you very much.